Welcome, everyone, to another interview with one of our funded traders. Today, we are hosting Theodore. He is a 19-year-old trader, so I'm kind of excited to hear his journey. Welcome, Theodore. How are you today?
So I'm doing fine, and how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Can you start by telling a little bit about yourself? How old are you? Where are you from? And how did you start trading?
So my name is Theodore Howitt. I'm currently 19 years old. I born and I grew up in Jamaica, and I moved to the US about 2 years and 3 months now. So I started trading when I was actually 17, a bit, probably a bit before. To be honest, this is the part that most people won't accept. But how I started trading, I used to even sign up with my mom's name. You know how you'd sign up just to try to get the whole concept
Yeah.
of trading and actually try. So of course I blew all that money I got. I mean, as a starter when you're starting out trading. But I'd say it was actually a good journey because I learned a lot since then. But currently it's been what, 3 years? A bit around 3 years of me trading.
That's great. Did you start trading with Forex or indices, or did you start by crypto? Because a lot of traders I see started with crypto because there was this hype a couple of years ago. In which market you started with?
So the first one I started with was actually Forex. So I've stuck with Forex ever
Okay,
since.
okay. Okay, that's
But
I think
the
that's better. Because the
yeah,
dynamics are quite different. So you started with Forex and going on with the Forex. And I think that's better for the understanding of the dynamic of the market, right? Um, I know that trading is not easy. So I'm just gonna I ask directly, okay? So in this journey, I think it's quite new, by the way. I'm just gonna say that. It's been 2 years. When did you actually start making money out of it? It didn't happen
yeah.
overnight, but when did it happen for you?
So to be honest, I actually started making money this year out of three
Okay,
years
okay.
of trading.
2024.
Yes, mom.
That's actually amazing. I'm guessing that you have other funded accounts. How much funded capital do you have right now?
Overall, now over 250K
That's really
supporting the
nice.
market.
I think that's really nice for someone who has a strategy and trading consistently. Is trading all you do right now, or do you study?
Yes, I actually study. I go to University of Houston downtown. That's in Texas. So I'm currently doing finance because I want to be an investment banker. So that's what I do as well as trading.
Oh, that's crazy. We actually hosted a lot of economics or finance students here before, or even graduates, right? And they have another type of strategy that they use. They don't actually only rely on technicals, but actually take like consideration from the fundamentals, etc. So how did it affect your trading? Do you pay attention to fundamentals, the news in the market, or do you do just technicals?
So unlike the regular day-to-day traders and scalpers, I'm a swing trader. So yes, I do pay a lot of attention to fundamentals because, to be honest, as we know, fundamentals drive technicals. That's just my saying. I'm not sure if everyone agrees with that. So yes, I do pay a lot of attention to fundamental
I
analysis.
think it makes sense because it's actually true. It's something true. Like it doesn't matter what we think, but it's true. Like interest rates or other economical news or news that affect the world, the wars, the pieces, everything. I think they have huge impact on it. Can you tell us a little bit of some of the key moments in your trading journey? These can be moments that you thought of giving up on trading, or you thought of, okay, I think I'm going to do this, or maybe you felt motivated. Key moments like
So
that.
I'd say my biggest moment, I'm going to say the best and the worst, to be honest. So the best one was when I actually flipped $200 into $700. That's when I actually knew that trading was real. My mom gave me $200. I put it in an offshore broker, of course, and I flipped it to $700. And I was like, whoa, it actually works. And I withdraw my money, everything. So I'm like, this is actually real. My worst moment was on Funny Bits. Funny Bits is the best platform. Let me say that, but it's just me as a trader. I was not ready for
I'm
that
glad you think so.
side.
I think so.
Yeah, I was not ready for that side of trading. I started on a 100K account. This is when I knew nothing about fundamentals. And I remember that day it was Consumer Price Index. I will never forget that day. Consumer Price Index came out and I said that it just went straight to my stop loss. Like, boom, I'm gone. And I was risking my entire, I don't know why, because I knew nothing. Like, I didn't know everything about trading as I should. Because, I mean, yes, even when you're like probably 1.5 year in trading, you still don't know everything. And the truth is, I didn't have a mentor. So I didn't get taught by anyone. I didn't learn about swap fees until I actually started going to swing trading myself. I didn't learn about I can have positive swap fees as well. Some currency pairs does give positive swap fees. I didn't know about fundamental aspect side of trading and all of that. So that was more of my worst moment. I was gonna actually give up, and I had this friend. He also trade. He's a scalper. We trade. We different, but he was like, this is actually real. He makes money off trading as well. So I'm like, you know what? If he can do it, I know I can do it. So that was actually my worst moment, but still good motivation.
I think that's really amazing because the notion that if he can do it, if she can do it, I can do it too, is the reason why we do these interviews because we can actually see traders who can actually trade, succeed, or can be consistent, right? And it may just spike something in someone else's mind that says like if he can do it I can do it too because that thing is real. So I definitely resonate with what you have just said. And trading is hard, but flipping accounts are harder, I think. So 200, 200 to 700, I think this is something quite hard. It's
Mhm.
more than 3x, right? So it's
Yes,
wow.
definitely.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But other than that, what was the most difficult thing in trading for you? This can be something technical in a chart, maybe about your strategy, or maybe this can be mental, right? Maybe there was this mental barrier in your trading and it was hard to overcome. What was that hard thing in your trading career?
So I'm pretty sure what I'm about to say is the same as many traders. Psychology. Psychology is the biggest thing in trading. And I'm pretty sure a lot of traders agree. And what affected me with my psychology is over trading or fear of missing out as well. Those two. I used to over trade a lot. Like a lot. And that's the reason why I even switched to swing trading because now I'm in the market less because I'll hold my trades for probably like 2 3 days or probably even for the entire week, so I'm not in the market at all. But I used to overtrade a lot, and I noticed that I did not like losing. As you have that mindset of not wanting to lose. So I used to constantly overtrade, even when I lose a trade, or even when I win a trade, I'd still go back in the market, try to make some more extra money, and then you lose, and you lose another one, and you lose another one, and it keeps on going. So that was my biggest issue.
I think you're right. Like a lot of traders say the same thing. Psychology is something quite hard to manage, and especially at a young age, because okay, let me show people how much payout you got so that they can actually understand how hard it was and how amazing it was because you got a payout for almost 7k, and this is not something easy for a 19-year-old to do on your second year of trading. I think this is quite a lot, and I think this is quite the achievement. So congratulations for it. Like, firstly, and the other thing that I want to say is that uh, when we talk about strategy or psychology, I think these are the things that improve over time. And you're still new. So please tell us, how did you overcome that psychological barrier? You said with swing trading, I know,
Yes.
like, because you wanted to prevent over trading or fear of missing out. Maybe this way you see less trades and you take less trades and it feels better. But do you ever break those rules? Do you ever do something else other than your swing trading, or I don't know? breaking rules in general. How do you balance that out? Because I think, as a psychologist, I think it's quite impossible for someone to stick with their rules all the time, like 100% of the time, maybe 99% of the time. But that 1%, I think it slips away a little bit.
Yes, so to be honest, we can't like we do break those rules. At least now I don't break those rules anymore. Well, not that much as I used to, because now I swing trade. So I really I don't have any reason to take multiple trades because I really can't. And plus I'm on a funded account, so I can't take multiple trades because we have a 3% rule. So what I'd say, yes, I do break those rules at times, rarely, but they do happen. But the thing is, I have different accounts for different ways how I can trade. So I have
Okay,
another
very
play
nice.
account somewhere else. So I treat that differently. If I'm gonna break any rules, I take the if I'm gonna enter, say aggressively, not wait for my one of my rules is that I wait for my 4 hour bear engulfing candlestick because I swing trade. So if I'm gonna enter aggressively and not wait for the full reversion engulfing candlestick, I'm not gonna take that on my funding pips account because I know that I don't want to mess with my funded account. So I have multiple different accounts for multiple different ways to trade per se. So that's one of the ways I actually cope with it as well.
That's actually lovely. That's actually lovely. This is what I kind of do at most of the time. And this is what I love to hear from other traders as well. Because even though I think a consistent trader has a simple strategy or just one strategy that they use in the markets, I think we also need other accounts to try out other
Yeah.
strategies that we also backtest. Or maybe, you know how cats have their like Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sometimes the internet connection has to be constant and perfect all the time, and sometimes when it's not, it's actually really bad. But no problem because I can just cut that and put everything back together, edit it. Don't worry. We can keep going. So
Definitely.
I don't know where I have left, but let's move on and I'll do this so that I know the edit time. Okay. And you know how cats have their like scratching papers just to get that itch out of them? And I think
Yes.
funded traders also need that. You know, like if they can't stop themselves. And I think that's a good practice to have more accounts to try out more strategies. But now that you talked so much about strategies and swing trading, I'm kind of curious what you do in the market. So, can you please share your trading your screen and show us a few trades of yours so that we can actually understand what you do?
All right. Yes, so also I want to say if you guys want me to show you my journal as well, so I can look at the exact trades I took. So if you want that as well, I can do that.
We'd actually love that, but we'd also be content with the average places that you took the trades. Like it doesn't have to be the exact because I think you'll know like which trades you took once you open your chart. But it's up to you. I'm content with anything at this point. I'm just curious about what you do.
Okay, so
Yeah.
overall, these are the trades I took, and these are at only three. It's on GBP to CHF, GBP to JPY, and AUD to USD. The Euro to JPY right here, I didn't actually get to take that trade. That was a trade I got stopped out, and so I'll show you my losses as well, because as we know in trading, losses are inevitable. But this was the first trade I took that made me a sum of $4,000 on my account to be exact. And this is on GBP to CHF. So how I analyze the market every single day, or not every single day, but every single Sunday, basically when market opens at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, because I live in Houston, is I do my top-down analysis. So the first thing I'll notice is I'll go and I'll look at what's the overall sentiment for the market. So overall, we can notice that well, obviously it's played out already, but we can notice that the market sentiment is currently bearish. And already I noticed that Look at this over here. This is creating a double top pattern. I have the left top, then the right top. So I know that overall I have a double top pattern. So I will I'll be looking for a continuation to go down. Then I'll go on my daily time frame. This is where I analyze every single thing. I just use my weekly to give me that extra confirmation. Now I'll analyze on my weekly daily time frame. When I'm analyzing on my weekly time frame, I look for my support and resistance areas. So what I can notice is already I have my support and resistance area. This is one right here. I had resistance. I had resistance again at this area. I also had resistance, and you want to make sure the body of the candle closes in this area, but you can also use the wick as some confluence is not as significant. They have their own significance, but not when it comes to support and resistance here. Then I noticed at this level I also had my support. That's my first confluence. The next thing I'll notice as well is I have a head and shoulder pattern. As we already know in trading, head and shoulder patterns are reversal patterns. So if you saw in a head and shoulder pattern, you're gonna be looking for sells. However, that also comes with market sentiment as well and your overall trend. Because you can have a head and shoulder pattern and it still gets wiped out because we know how the market works. But overall, I got my head and shoulder pattern. I already identified my support and resistance areas. So the next thing I was looking at as well is that I also got a doji candlestick at my area of interest. So as we know, doji candlestick is also a reversal candlestick. I got my doji candlestick. Now I go to my 4 hour time frame. This is where I look for my entry confirmation. So I use my weekly to see the overall sentiment. I use my daily for my support and resistance areas where I'm going to analyze. And for my entry confirmation, I take them on the 4 hour time frame. I swing trade, so obviously I utilize the higher time frame. I don't really go to the 15 minute and the 1 hour. It's good when you're scalping, but not so much when you're swing trading. One thing I always say as well is we need to understand that when you're swing trading, your weekly is more significant than your daily is more significant than your 4 hour, and your 4 is more significant than your 3 hour. It keeps on going. So already, I got my bearish engulfing candlestick, which also broke structure. You can go down to the lower time frame and realize this would be your structure break. So you got your 4 candlestick. I'm gonna go back to it. I got my structure break confirmation 4, boom, and that's when I entered. Something else I also use for confluence is if you notice on my chart, you see these two lines. That is the 50 and the 20 EMA. So I use that as confluence in my trade as well, because as we already know, the 50 and the 20 EMA, they're also used as support and resistance levels. They can use as confluence. I don't just base my trade based off of them. I don't take trades solely off the 50 MA, but I do use them as confluence in my setup along with the Fibonacci if it comes into play. So that's literally how I took this setup and I made over 4K. Next thing is where I'd be looking for my take profit is I'd look for my take profit at the next support and resistance area. And yes, as much as we have a lot of support and resistance, you have to know what support and resistance levels are significant. That's the next thing. So if I'm gonna say a support and resistance level with only 2 touches, say I'm gonna go, let's say do this. We know that this level is not as significant as down here. Why? We have 1, 2, we have 3 touches. But the thing is, you don't want your wick to be closed in that area. You need the entire body of the candlestick to be closed in that area. And the next thing I also look at the momentum, because most of my trades I set take profit, but some I have my time where I do not set a take profit and I have a mental take profit in mind instead. Because if I'm looking at the momentum and I realize that 2 daily candlestick close fully bearish, I know that there's going to be a continuation based off how the next candlestick open and close potentially. But I know that there might be a continuation. And when I'm setting my take profit as well, even though I have my support and resistance area down here, I always put my take profit a little bit above, because we know that price might not come way down to that support area and it might push back up into the resistance before it comes to the support area. And that was how I took my first trade and made $4,460 something dollars, if I'm correct. The next one was on GBP to JPY. This one is more of a Fibonacci confluence as well, because I do use my Fibonacci when I'm trading. We do use it when it comes to swing trading. We use it on the higher time frame, but let me just take it off and give you guys the breakdown. So as usual, I'll go to my higher time frame. the first thing I noticed on my head higher time frame is I already got a weekly bearish engulfing candlestick. And how do we know it's a bearish engulfing? Because it engulfed over one, two, three candlesticks in the process of it going down. I got my weekly bearish engulfing candlestick. I notice I already have a weekly support and a weekly resistance. Then I'll go down to my daily time frame and basically chart my weekly support and the and resistance levels. First thing I'll notice is that this is not significant because it's just a week, but we can still use it as confluence, as I said before. Then I'll notice that right here we had our bullish candlestick, not engulfing, but bullish candlestick at our area of interest, which changed the entire sentiment of price. Price gave a bearish engulfing, then we got bullish candlestick and it changed the entire sentiment. Go down to my 4 hour as well. We can notice that this level had multiple support and resistance. We had multiple rejections at this level. The next thing I'll do is I'll look for my confluence. And also, let me explain something. This
Yep.
ROI, ROL, it means run psychological level. So I also use that as confluence in my trade as well. So run psychological levels are levels that are rounded to the. Some people use the 10th, 100, and thousands. I just stick to the 100 and the 1,000 because to me the 10th is not as much significant. I've taken trade of the 10, but it's just so common. I don't think they're significant as the higher, like say the 100. Like say right over to the right of my screen, you would see 202.000. Still rounded. Or the one I like to use is say 199.500. It's rounded to the 100. So that's a round psychological level. So I use that as confidence in my trade because especially if it matches up with my support and resistance level. So if you notice, go down to my 4 hour time frame. That's where I take my entries from. I got my bearish engulfing candlestick, my stop loss. What? Give me a second. Oh, sorry about that. Go back to
No
GMT.
worries, no worries.
Yeah. 4 hour time frame, my stop loss is above the high. I always put my stop loss above the high of the candlestick. In some cases, let me not say always, because some trades, if you do get a probably a bearish engulfing right here, you want your stop loss to be as big because as much as you know with scalpers we you guys have smaller stop loss, a lot of people they have smaller stop loss. With swing trading it's way different because it takes time for trades to play out, so we can have trades even consolidate in our stop loss area for probably like a few hours before it even plays out.
Yeah.
So that happens, so you need to have a bigger stop loss to give price the momentum, or not really momentum, to give price the space to basically play out. Because a lot of times price will also build up that momentum before it pushes down if you're looking for a sell, or before it pushes up if you're looking for buys. So I entered off my 4 hour bearish engulfing candlestick, stop loss above the high, and it was all downhill from there, literally. And that's how I came out at that.
I think it's really interesting because I've seen a lot of traders using a lot of different strategies, from indicators, from EMAs, or to ICT, or just for simple support and resistance, and etc. But I don't think that we hosted a trader who also use patterns in a chart, like such as, I don't know, like you said double top, head and shoulders. Maybe you use triangles, or channels, etc. And I think that was the first interesting part in your strategy because I think a lot of people, a lot of new traders look at those patterns as something that are quite simple and that something that they should not focus on, etc. But with the right mindset, as you explained very thoroughly on your chart, you have your psychological levels, you have your system, you have your risk management system, and with that right system any strategy can be used. And I think that was the interesting part in your strategy, and I actually liked how you traded. I don't think that it's simple, though. I'm not gonna give you that. I don't think that it's simple. I think it's very complicated in terms of mentality and technicals, because you have something of a mixture from everything, and you have your own system. That's why it's complicated. You don't follow the common rules, you don't follow the common ideas. You have your own opinions and own strategy, and I think that's a beautiful thing, and congratulations for it. But I have obviously have few questions. So let's say that you started a new account and you started going for your with your strategy, and let's say that you are in drawdown, and let's say that drawdown wasn't so deep yet, but you're in drawdown. How would you approach your account? What would be your risk management when in drawdown? Because we always talk about winning trades, but we also should talk about losing ones too. And how do successful traders approach drawdowns? Because that's something a lot of traders suffer from.
Okay, so the difference with me and a lot of traders, I know the rule that they always say you should risk 1% or 0.5 unfunded. I do not follow that rule. I have a dynamic risk. So, something I didn't explain in my strategy, I have a thing where we have different quality setups. So we have A plus, A, B plus, and B. I do not trade C plus setup, not even on a phase account, basically a challenge account. I don't. So when it
Sure.
comes to me in Jordan, I always lower my risk. That's why I said I have dynamic risk. I lower my risk and I always target a A plus setup. And yes, A plus setup because I swing trade, it takes a while to form, but I always wait for A plus setup because when I have a A plus setup, there's actually like say a 80% chance of it playing out. Basically, we call it textbook setup. So I have certain setups that I am sure I've seen multiple times in the market. Not sure because we know it's all a probability game, but I've seen it multiple times in the market. So normally I wait for those setups that I've seen multiple times. I add my confidence. If you notice, I had multiple confidence. What I do in my trade, the more confidence I have, the higher probability it is of playing out. So that's what I have. And anything that goes against my trade, it takes away 1 point. So if I have a A plus setup, but I don't have my say 50 EMA matches up perfectly with price, I'll say, you know what, that takes away 1 point. If I see where I'm looking for sales and my 50 EMA is underneath price, which potentially is saying that is gonna be, most traders would say still bullish, then I'll take away 1 point because it doesn't match up perfectly with where price is. So I consider my setup, I always have them as different quality, different tier basically. So that's how I get myself out of drawdown.
That is so interesting. That is so interesting. I don't think that we ever hosted a trader who uses that kind of risk management, because you take away, you add, and I think that's also really interesting. But other than that, is it, do you think, tiring to do so? Because I know that you swing trade, right? So you trade on higher time frames. So you don't have to be in front of the screen all the time. But how do you manage that? Like, do you put alarms in your chart so that you can actually see if you need to take away a few lots, few points? How do you manage that?
Oh, so when I say dynamic risk, I don't mean in the sense that, okay, I'm in a trade, I entered with a one lot on USD, risking only, say 1,000. Let's just say, or 10 lots, say $1,000. But I don't just take away and add. I mean, in the sense, I take away and add when I'm going to enter the overall position. When I'm in
Okay.
a position, most traders I know they do a thing where they take away some loss. The only time I take away a certain percent of my position is when it's going to go into the next day. Because as we know, it's more of a, with prop firms, it's an equity based drawdown and
Yeah.
I swing trade. So the equity base affects me. So what I'll do, I'll take away a certain percent and leave the trade, let it play out. So that's why I said I have a dynamic risk because overall I don't go above, when I'm on a funded account, I do not go above 2%. Never.
Oh,
That's just the cap right there. I never, because way over 2% is way too much. We know that for sure. So I
yeah.
never go for 2%. I just always leave it exactly at 2%. That's my cap. But when I say I have a dynamic risk, is because I have different probability setups. So when I see like a B plus setup, I know that there's gonna be a probably 65% chance of it playing out. So I'm gonna lower my risk to probably a 1% and just take that trade.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Okay, now it's more clear. Thank you for clarifying that. Because, anyone who's watching that interview might actually look up to you and see what you're doing. And maybe they can also try what you're doing because it seems like it's working for you with that almost 7K payout. I think that's quite the achievement. So, my other question to you is kind of related to your life outside of trading, because I think a support system during a trade or during that trading career is really important, because a lot of traders, they don't have someone to support them, they don't have someone to believe in them. And then I've heard this story a lot, and they say like, oh, my family didn't believe in me, and I was like, I kept trading, and now they believe in me because I succeeded. How was that part of your life, and how, if you didn't have any support, how did you overcome that?
So I wouldn't say I really had a support. I would say my mom was a support. The truth is, I when I just started, I was a bit different than the usual person when they said, "Oh, I never told anyone." I told everyone because I don't know. I have this mindset where when I start something to make me successful, I want everyone to be successful. I don't know why. That's just how I think. So I told my mom, I told friends, I told family. No one believed it except my mom. My mom believed. And that's the only thing I cared about. My mom believed, that mean it can work. And that's all
Now we
like
know who's
that's
gonna
my only
retire
support.
early. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's perfect. I
definitely,
love it.
definitely. So my mom believed, so that I'd say that's my biggest. It wasn't really a support, but more of my motivation. I wouldn't say I really needed a support, because it's like it's not about trying to sound cocky, but it's like you ever know that it's going to work out. Like you just know deep within. Like I keep telling myself that the truth is, if you really work hard on something for years, months, days, and you actually put in the effort, it has to work out. So that's just the mindset I had throughout it all. Even there was time I wanted to give up, but I just knew it was gonna work. Cause I'm like, if it's working for him and it's working for her and it's working for everyone, why can't it work for me? So that
Yeah.
was my main. It wasn't really a support, but my motivation to just keep going.
That's really amazing. I'm really glad that you had someone to motivate you, even with the words, with the emotions, because I think that's quite important. But this is like now, like, is coming a question that is quite cliche, but I really like that question, because I don't think that we pay attention to it a lot as like people. We don't pay attention to advices a lot, like suggestions. But I think when it comes from someone who actually succeed at something that we also want to succeed in, I think it should be important, because it means that that person has a point, like he's on to something. So what would you advise to other traders out there who are maybe just starting new, or who have been trying to be successful, trying to be profitable, but couldn't be profitable yet?
So I would say, do not put a time limit to when you should be successful.
Mhm.
Don't. Like honest, not time limit, but say, like some people would say, you know what, in the next 6 months I should be successful, I should have a payout. I should never put that, never. Because honestly, I would say, because the truth is, when I just started trading, I was like, you know what, if he's doing it, because you see the videos on Instagram where people is posting flashy stuff like watches and cars. And so I'm like, you know what? If I start trading, I should own that. And I'm like, you know what? I started this year, so probably by the end of the year, I should get this. Honestly, when you put a time limit to it, it never works out. It never works, because some people, everyone's journey is different. I might take probably 3 years to be successful. You might take six. Another person might take one. Some people might take a few months and it works for them. So I'd say never put like that time limit of when you should actually be successful. Honestly.
That's really an amazing advice. So, because before that, props had that rule to finish a phase in a month or something, and it was quite hard because you have to put a time limit on your success, right? It's your journey, but you have to put a time limit on it, and I think it was hard, and I think this resonates with what you have just said. And now, by removing that, removing the time limit, traders have more freedom to trade whenever they want or whenever they see their setup. Now it doesn't just resonate with, I don't know, like day traders or etc. Now it resonates with swing traders too. And yeah, that was a good advice. And thank you, Theodore, for joining in this interview and accepting our offer and sharing what you do in the markets, sharing your journey. I think it was very in detail, and I hope anyone who has watched that part can also benefit from it, because I did. And yeah, thank you for joining in.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. And anyone who's watching right now, I'll see you guys on the next one.